The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, how is it going? Just do the usual sound checks to start off with. Can you just confirm you can see my screen okay? You should have a you should be able to see a Convertri funnel with a single page in it that says coffee, and you should be able to hear me okay. Is everything coming through all right? Cool, I got a yes from Charles, yes from Tim, okay from Jennifer, and plenty of other people as well. Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, so quick introductions first. I'm Neil, I'm one of the co-founders of Convertery. If we have a look at the this is our About Us page on the website, and this is me there. I'm the one in that rather fetching hat. You can also see me if you scroll down a bit to the Meet the Team section. I'm there in the middle of the top row. Now, usually Dan does these. Dan's on our support team. If you've been around the Facebook group, if you've emailed the support desk at all, you may well have encountered him. You'll find him as well down the bottom here. And like I say, Dan usually does these. I think, in fact, he was even scheduled to do this one. I'm pretty certain his name was on all the emails that went out. But unfortunately, Dan has come down with the plague. He like it's mild. He's fine. It won't be a problem. He was, in fact, even yesterday, he was saying that, like, no, I'll do the call. He's that enthusiastic. But we were like, no, you're not doing that. You're staying in bed and you are resting. So you win me instead. And I hope I will do a good job for you. Tim's asking, will this be a Q&A webinar? Yes, it will. We will have a Q&A section at the end. I'll be going through that in just a second. So what we are doing on this call, this is aimed at basically people who are like new to Convertri. Maybe you are like, maybe it's a trial, like maybe you're on a trial at the moment. Maybe you've had Convertri for a while, but you're kind of coming back to it after a bit. Maybe you don't have Convertri at all. Maybe you're just kind of exploring and seeing if like this is the kind of platform that's right for you. For any of these situations, what we are trying to do is trying to give you like a tour of the app. I want to show you how I'm going to show you how the editor works, how everything fits together. So this is going to come in 3 parts. First part is I'm going to show you how to build a simple lead funnel. What I mean by that is we are going to have an opt-in page. We're going to build something that looks kind of like this. And by the time we're done, someone is going to be able to come to this page, like it'll be live, and they're going to be able to enter their name, enter their email. And when they hit the download, that information will be submitted to our autoresponder, and they will be redirected to a thank you page where they will be able to download the report that we're promising them here. So a simple lead funnel, and we're going to build that entire thing. And that will take, I guess, probably about half an hour at a guess. After that, we're going to see some like editor hacks, because I use Convertri a lot. I mean, not just for Convertri itself, but for a lot of my own stuff as well. So what I want to do is show you a few of the features which I think are really useful, but they're not quite as easy to find. So things that make using the editor an awful lot easier. And then once we're done with that, let's say that'll probably take like 10 to 15 minutes, I would guess. And once we're done with that, we'll just open the floor to a general Q&A session where you can ask me like anything you want, like about Convertri. If there's anything in particular you want to know how to do, or if there's a feature you want to know about, or if you want to know if we're like planning to have a feature in the near future, like any question like that, you are like more than welcome to ask me. I will do my best to answer. I'm happy to hang around basically either until you run out of questions or I run out of voice to answer them. Cool. Tim says that sounds fair. And I hope that sounds like something that is going to be useful to everyone here. So let's get started. So first thing we are going to do is we are going to build out this lead funnel. And we're going to build, let's say, the page that looks kind of like this and a thank you page to go with it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to new page up here. And this will open the Convertri template selector. And you see there's quite a lot of templates here to choose from. But there's really an awful lot of templates here to choose from. So like in most niches, you're going to find something that's like there's going to be a good starting point for you. I'm not going to use a template for this demo. I'm just going to create a page from scratch. And the reason I'm doing this is, first of all, it makes it it's going to make it a lot easier for me to show you how all the editor works when I'm doing this. Like there's just going to be a lot more opportunity to show you the different features. And also, I just find it a bit more fun. I should say as well, like I've got the chat box is open here. I'm going to be keeping like half an eye on it as we do the demos. So if you've got a question that's related to what we're seeing, like if you're not sure like how I did a certain thing that you're seeing on the screen, if you want me to do it again, if I'm moving a bit too fast, like you'd like me to slow down a bit, like please do like add a comment in there. I don't want to get too distracted from it, so I'll be like keeping half an eye on it. We don't want this to take too long. But I will try and like answer these things as we go through. Only thing I was asking, if you've got a more general question, like that's like just related to Convertri in general and not to what we're like seeing on the screen at the moment, if you could just save that until the Q&A session at the end, it'll stop us from getting too distracted. So this is the Convertri canvas. This is like the blank page editor, and the first thing we are going to do is we're going to add like this background image, and then we're going to add these colored sections at the top and the bottom. So we're going to drag on an image for our start. And you can see these are images I've already used on this account. You can actually see that woman one, which we're going to be using there. You don't have to just use what's there already. You can upload your own images. I'm going to show you how to do that. We also have a Pixabay integration, so we can add in. I don't know. Does someone have a? Let's see what we can find. Does someone have a topic we can search for? Jennifer's gone with cycling. Cool. You're on first. Let's have a look at that. So search for cycling. So this is a load of cycling images that you can get from Pixabay. And like I really love Pixabay as a site. Like it's basically it's a collection of public domain images, which like people like sometimes some really professional photographers just upload and let you use for whatever purpose you want. It's a really very impressive service. I'm a big fan of it, and you can get, let's say, some very impressive images there. And that is, in fact, I think, where the image we're going to use, where it came from. I'm not going to get it from Pixabay because I want to show you how to do the upload as well. So we'll just cancel that. And I'll just get rid of the image that's there already, so you can see the upload process. Now I have this file on my desktop at the moment, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that file and I'm just going to drag that on. And you can see there it's now uploading into our image manager. And we'll select that. And this will add our image into the background, and we can move it around just by clicking to pick it up and then just dragging and moving it wherever we want on the canvas. Now we're going to make it full width, so it stretches the entire length of the screen. And we'll do that with this full width button in the Quick Actions toolbar. And then we can just up the size. So I'm just taking these drag handles and dragging it to the size I want. Now I don't have a specific size I'm aiming for here. Let's say what we're aiming to do with this demo is we're basically aiming to reconstruct this page, but I'm not being too exact about it. I'm not like getting a specific pixel height from this and fixing it to that. I'm just kind of getting it roughly like so it looks close enough. And that's actually one of the things I quite like about designing with Convertery, because it's not, you don't need specific heights, like you don't need specific sizes for things. With like with this image, as an example, I can just think, okay, like do I want, like maybe I want a bit more of the woman showing? Well, in that case, I'll just make it a bit bigger. And if I decide, actually, maybe that's a bit too much, then we just make it smaller again. You can just adjust it until it looks the way you want it to look. So in our case, we're going to go a bit like that. And now we want the color panels at the top and the bottom. So I'm going to drag on a panel element, again from our element toolbar here. And again, we're going to make that full width. And I'll just drag that to the top of the editor. And now I'm going to take the bottom drag handle, so the one that expands the size here, and I'm just going to move that up until that snaps to the top of that image. And you can see when I do that, you'll see these pink snap lines. I'm sat here pointing at the screen as if you can see this. You can tell I don't do this very often. So you can see these pink snap lines as I approach. So here the snap line is showing that the top of the image is halfway, like vertically halfway through this element, and then we can just move it up until it snaps to the top. So again, you don't have to worry about like pixel perfect positioning. You can just use the snap lines to get it where you want it. And then we are going to change the background color. So in the properties panel, we'll select the background option and click background fill. And here we have this like little point here that you can drag all over the screen to change the color. And you can see this is updating in the editor in real time as we do it. So you don't have to like pick a color and then like go and have a look at what it looks like. You can see it update as you do it. So we had like this kind of beigey color on the example page. So I'm going to just move the spectrum to like the orangey kind of area. And we'll put it about there. Again, I don't think that's exactly what it was, but it's close enough. And we'll select that. And now we want the same color panel on the bottom. So with this selected, I'm going to hit clone up here in that toolbar. And that creates a copy of the element that we can just drag down. And again, place where we want it. And this one I'm going to make a little bit wider because we're going to have like our privacy policy in terms of service links in there. So we want a bit more space for it. Now I have actually been asked on other like calls of this that I've done, like why I'm adding these panels. And honestly, it's entirely because I like the look of it. I say that is entirely it. Marcel's saying, I can only see a few templates. Where do I get access to all the others that you have? If you can't see all the templates that you saw, like when I was looking at the template selector here, then it probably means you, like these are part of the Pro collection. So it probably just means you don't have a Pro account. If you want to, like this, even the standard accounts have like, I think between 60 and 100. But if you want like the full like 500 or so that's in the Pro collection, then if you email support and ask about an upgrade, they'll be able to sort you out. So the next thing we're going to do, we just have a look at our demo page again. Next thing we are going to do is we are going to make this box here. So the one with the form elements and all the text. So I'm going to start that off by throwing a panel on. And something like that. Now I'm not trying to be, again, not trying to be exact with this at all. Like in a minute, I'm going to throw in a load of text elements and form elements, that kind of thing. I'm not going to worry about getting them in the right place. We're just going to get them like vaguely around here, and then we will snap them into place after that. It's just a lot easier once everything's on the screen. In the same way, I'm not worrying too much about the precise positioning of this panel at the moment. We'll make it look the way we want, and then we'll move it like to the bit of the page where we think it looks best. And that's not the only way of designing in Convertri. Like some people do prefer like to have things planned out like in advance and precise positions. It's just not the way I tend to do things. Personally, I find it easier, but your mileage may vary. So let's add on some text elements. So the headline was 7 top tips for slimming without starving. Just type this straight into the element. And what we've tried to do with all the the text element stuff like this is just make it work like Word does. So if you're familiar with using Microsoft Word or OpenOffice or something like that, you should find it like it works pretty much exactly the same way. And another text box for the body text here. There's no way I'm getting this perfect, but again, it'll be close enough. So that's something like find it hard to stick to a diet. This report gives you 7 top tips for looking and feeling great without needing to starve yourself for 20 hours per day. Now we're going to need a couple of other text elements because we're going to need first the enter your best details below that goes above the form. And finally one for the anti-spam text. So okay. Let's grab a quick swig of coffee. And now we're going to add those form elements, and these come from the form elements collection in the elements toolbar. So we'll click on that and you can see the options. So we are going to want the first name box, and we're going to want the email box, and we're going to want a submit button. And I think that was all of it. Yep. So one thing you probably noticed, like as we're flicking back and forth, is that the text on this panel looks quite nice, and the text on this one does not. And that's because we haven't set up the styles yet. Now you can do this element by element, like you can select the text here, you can change the fonts, you can change the font size, you can even change the color if you want, things like bold and underline. But again, I prefer to do this through the default styles feature. And to do that, we go to the page menu and select default text styles. And what this lets us do is set up, well, a default style for the page. So it lets us change every text box at once. So we can change our font family, and I'm going to use Lato for this page. We'll keep the font weight as normal, like rather than bold or similar. The font size we will keep as 1.6, but I'm going to up the line spacing to 1.8 because I quite like having like a lot of white space in my paragraphs. I just think it makes them easier to read. So we'll go with done. And that there is already looking a bit nicer. These text here, these ones I'm going to change text box by text box because I don't want the entire page working this way, but we want these bits of text to be a bit smaller. So we're going to change the size to 12, and I'm going to center them as well. finally, this headline, we are going to add another default style for this, but rather than the paragraph, we are going to do the heading 1 style. And for this, I'm going to use a font called Noto Sans. And yeah, bold. Font size is 36 as a default. I'm actually going to take that down. I'm going to take it down to 24 just because there's not very much space in my box. Line spacing, I'm actually going to leave as 1.2 for this one because it's a headline and the narrower space makes it a bit punchier, like a bit more attention grabbing, which is the kind of thing you want from a headline. Now, if I click done, you'll see on this page, absolutely nothing has changed because at the moment, none of these text boxes are using the heading 1 default style. They're all using the normal paragraph one. So we'll change that by highlighting the text. We'll go to more and we'll just change the style there to heading 1. And you can see that has set it using the styles that we wanted. And just as an example of why I like default styles, like rather than changing things like individually, if let's say we came to this page like a bit later and we're like, you know what, maybe I don't like Lato. Maybe I want to try a different font. Maybe I want to try, or maybe I want to try Annie Use Your Telescope. That's a great name. Then we can just choose the font, we can hit done, and you can see all the text boxes have changed. We don't have to do them individually. It's just changed all the boxes using that style on the page at once. And this is also quite useful if you are like adjusting one of our templates, as an example, because most of them are set up with default styles, so you can just change the default style to whatever font you want. In this case, I'm definitely changing that back to Lato because that is actually quite hard to read. But that's the reason I like that as a feature and doing it that way rather than changing the individual text boxes. Now, finally, we want to adjust these form fields a bit. So we're just going to go into the element properties. And in input properties here, we're going to change the font family to Lato again, and we're going to make that 14. Just take that size down a bit. I'm going to do the same for the email field. And on our button, I think I'm actually going to set that to Noto Sans again. Maybe make the font a bit bigger, that 18, and we'll make that bold. And we can change the label on our button as well. We can just update the label field. Let something like download now. And again, you can see that updating on the page as we change. So we've got all our elements on there. Each individual element is looking all right, but we still need to space them out nicely in the box itself. So what we're going to do now to do that is we're going to use Convertry's alignment options. So there are a lot of alignment options available to you, and you can find these in this menu again on the Quick Actions toolbar. So you can left align things, center align, various forms of justification. So with the container box selected, we are going to center align everything. And that will align all those elements to the center of the container. Now we want to space out these form elements a bit nicer. So what I'm going to do is I'm maybe going to move that up just a little bit. Again, just nudging that using the arrow keys for like these fine adjustments. So we'll move that up a little bit. So basically the first and the last ones, so the first name field and the button itself are where I want them. But I quite like the email field to be like evenly spaced in the middle. So what I'm going to do is multi-select these elements by just we select one and then we hold down the Shift key and select the other two. And now you can see the options are changed a bit because we have different types of elements selected, and we're going to go with distribute vertically. And that will just snap the email field nicely into the middle. And final thing I think we're going to do, we're just going to move that up a bit so there's a bit less space on the bottom. Now, final thing we need to do to make this box look like the one that's on here, you can see this one has these like nice rounded beveled edges, and there's like a transparency effect. You can kind of just faintly see the background of the page through the box itself. So to do that, again with the container box selected, we go to the properties panel and we'll choose borders. And I'm going to switch this on so just every element gets the same border amount. And we're going to enter 20 in there. So that gives us some nice round corners. And again, you can change this to whatever you want. You can use these arrow keys as well. I mean, you can just hold that down if you want, and you can see like the effect on your page itself. So again, you don't have to have a precise number in mind. You can just adjust it until it looks good to you. I quite like the 20 area, so that is what we're doing for this one. Finally, in the background itself, we are changing the background color to pure white, and we're going to change the opacity using this slider on the right. So at the moment it's set to full opacity. We can drag it all the way down to the bottom. It can be fully transparent, or we can set it anywhere in the middle. So let's put that at about 75. And we'll select that, and we'll move you like I'll move you about there. And again, no precise positioning. I'm just like doing it entirely by eye to get it where I think it looks good. Okay, so is everyone following along so far? Does everything here make sense? Yep, excellent. We've got Vida, David, Becky, Jim all saying it looks good. Good. Let's say if you do have questions, please do ask if there's anything you want me to show you again. I think the final thing we need to do on like this version of the page is we need to add our privacy policy in the bottom there. So we're going to do that just again by adding another text element. Type in privacy policy. And you can see again, because we've set that default paragraph style, it's using those settings automatically. We are going to center this, and we're going to center the box as well. So align to page center. And to make this a link, we're going to select the text, and we will use the hyperlink button at the top. And we'll just type in the link that we want it to go to. I'm going to connect this to Convertry's privacy policy. Obviously, on your pages, you would use your own. And I'm also going to set it to open in a new tab, because I think especially when you've got something like a privacy policy, not many people are going to click on it. But the ones that do, like, you don't want them taken away from your page entirely. Like, make the page available to them certainly, but you don't really want them leaving your opt-in if you can avoid it. So that is the desktop version of the page complete, and I think that took us about 15-20 minutes thereabouts. I wasn't really watching the clock, but I think that was about it. Final thing we need to do here is we need to have a look at the mobile view. So Convertri will automatically create a mobile version of your page, but you can adjust this like however you want. This is the automatic Convertri version. like based on like what it thinks it should look like based on the desktop version. But you don't have to stick with this. Like if you decide, I mean, maybe you think like you want the form at the top. You know, so we can move. We can just drag all those bits up and we'll stick the text at the bottom. And we can do that without affecting the desktop page. Like if I move back to the desktop, that's not changed at all. But we can change the positions of anything we want on this page without affecting the desktop experience. This lets you like design the mobile page like you actually want. See, I would certainly prefer it the other way around, so we'll do that. One thing we will do though, we won't leave it entirely as Convertery leaves it at the start. I would quite like the text here to be a bit smaller. So there is a mobile scaling factor that Convertery automatically applies. Again, you can change this individually. Like you can change this by individual text box. But it's another thing which you can do with default styles. And again, I prefer to do it that way. So I'm going to change the default font scaling of the paragraph style. I'm going to change that to 120% rather than 150. So it'll be a bit smaller. Now we'll move back to mobile. And you can see this text is now smaller. And because we use the default style, it also affected the enter your best details and the we will never spam you text. It did not affect the headline. The headline is remaining at 150%, so it's a bit bigger, again, a bit punchier, because that was set to a different default style and we didn't change that one. Okay, got a couple of questions come in, so we'll just have a look at those. Jennifer's asking, how do you center the text again? Okay, so you can center text within a text box, as we'll just make a new one. So you can center text within the text box itself. Like you can highlight the text and use the center button in the quick actions toolbar. That will center it there. Like that will center the text within the text box itself. You can center the text box on the page, like you can center any other element. If you use the element alignment tools, so you've got the text box selected, go to element alignment and then align to page center, and that will snap it to the middle. Tony is saying, can you show how you did the opacity? I certainly can. So on this backing box here, because this is the one we applied the opacity to, if we go to background and background fill, the opacity slider is here on the right. So we've got our color picker itself, like over here, and the opacity slider is this thing on the right. So if we drag it down to the bottom, it's entirely transparent. If we move it all the way to the top, it's entirely opaque. And I had it set in the middle, I think about there. Bruno's asking if there's going to be a replay available. There will be a replay available. We're recording this call at the moment. It will go in the Convertery knowledge base with all the others. So if we go to, I just open a new tab, we'll go to help.convertery.com. This is where you'll find our knowledge base. There's also a link to it in the app as well. I think you'll find it in the help menu here. Yep, there. So this is the knowledge base, and you can see that we have a section there for getting started webinars. And these are all the getting started calls that we've done. They're sorted by popularity here at the moment. We'll sort A to Z so you can see the dates. And this has this is the repository of all past recordings. They're all the same presentation, like it's all the same demo. Obviously, most of the time it's Dan doing it rather than me. But it's all the same demo. It's all the same section on the editor hacks. The Q&A section will often be different because obviously people are asking different questions. but you've got a full set here to go through. So this one will be up in the knowledge base, like in this section, probably by the beginning of next week, and you'll be able to review it whenever you want. And obviously, like as soon as this call is done, you can have a look at the past webinars and have a look at the demos there. Nora's saying, how do you deal with the background, aesthetically speaking, since posting one large picture we did will move away as you scroll? If you mean what I think you mean here, that won't be an issue on your page, because Convertery is only going to publish down to the bottom of the lowest element. Like you won't get any of the other space here. People will only see white space if their screen is physically showing more vertical space than is actually on the image or is on the web page itself. And obviously, some people don't mind having the white at the bottom if that's the case. If you do, then you can go to the page background, and let's say we set that to the same color that we used for these elements, and then it'll be far less noticeable. Okay, Tim is asking about how to set an action for a user to scroll back to the top and how to get an expiry timer to show. I will go through those in the Q&A section at the end of the demo. If I forget, please do remind me. But once we hit that bit, because it's not directly related to this here, I can show you how to do that, but I'll just do that at the end. Peter's asking, how do you change the template name? I mean, opt-in is that's just what I called the page when I created it. If you would like to change it afterward, then if you go to the three-dot menu on the page card, go to More, hit Rename, and you can call this something else. And it will just update like that. Jim's asking, is there a way to standardize policies, Gdpr, etc. across various pages and sites? The way I would do that is just set them up as individual pages. In fact, it's the way we do it on Convertery itself. We have a legal pages folder that's got things like our terms of service. It's got our privacy policy in there. And whenever we need it, we just connect to the page in that folder. And then obviously, if we need to update it, we just update the page that it's on. So we don't have to do it multiple times. Craig's asking about split testing. We do have built-in split testing, and again, I'll show you that at the end of the demo. And please do remind me if I forget. Deepak, same with your question about the mobile version. There is a way of moving an element to the top quickly, but again, I'll show you that at the end. Atanas, I'll be showing you how to connect the form up a little bit later in this demo. Berna, I hope I've got your name right there. Berna, if you're talking about what I think you're talking about, that's about swapping a domain over. And again, yes, we do have a tutorial on that. And again, I'll show you at the end once I've done this. And Vida, I can also show you how to add a video in that section as well. So again, there's going to be quite a lot of stuff I'm coming back to at the end. I just don't want to get like too distracted on this bit. But again, if I do miss one of you at the end, and honestly, odds are I will. Please do feel free to add your question again in the chat if I don't get to it. So next thing we're going to do on this is we are going to create a thank you page for people who enter their details into this form to go to. And what we are going to do with this thank you page as a starting point is we are going to clone this page here. And again, a couple of reasons for that. I'm just going to hit the clone button and call that thank you. And one reason is that it makes a lot of sense to have your thank you page look very similar to your opt-in page, because it gives your viewers or your users that sense of consistency, like they're not being sent somewhere random. And also it's an excuse for me to show you how cloning works. So we've cloned that page, and I'm going to click this little arrow button and connect it to the thank you page there. And what that is doing is telling Convertri that if someone enters their details on this page, we probably want them to get sent over here. So we'll just enter the editor for this page. So again, this is a complete clone of the page we just built. So I'm going to get rid of some of the elements we don't need anymore. We're not going to need the form fields anymore. And we're not going to need these details. We are going to want a button because we're going to want to let people download our report. And we will keep these text boxes so we've got somewhere to add the messaging. So let's say thanks for signing up. And in here we'll put signing up to get your copy of 7 tips for slimming without starving. Click the button below to download the PDF. Now we'll just move that button up. And we'll shrink the size of that box because we don't need all that space at the bottom. Move that maybe like there. What I think I'm also going to do is I'm also going to change the background color of that button just so it's a bit different. I'll do that. I quite like doing a nice dark green for these things. Green always seems like a nice friendly color. So now we need to connect our button to the file that we want them to download. So with our button selected, we go to button settings in the properties panel, and we're going to change the mode from sign up to download. And now we're going to select the file we want them to download. And again, you can see this demo's been done before. I've already got the file here, but I'm going to delete that just so you can see the upload process. And again, this works just like adding an image did. I've just got the file on my desktop, and I'm just going to drag that onto the file selector, and Convertri will upload it. And you can see these files, it doesn't have to be a PDF. You could do a doc file, you could do an MP4. Only real stipulation is it needs to be less than 40 megabytes per file. So we'll select that, and that file is now attached. And once again, we will have a quick look at the mobile view. And this, again, because there's just not many elements on the page, Convertry's made a very small page. I would rather there was a bit more space on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to I'm going to hold down the Shift key and I'm going to drag the image to be a bit bigger, just so we got a bit more space there. And you can see that resizes the image while pushing the rest of the page down. And then I'll just reposition that to the middle of the image. And then you can see I know I've hit the middle because I've got that pink snap line. So we'll save that. And now we're going to publish it and we're going to get our page live. So let's demo/thank you. Publish that page, and that is now live. Like you can see the view page. You can see the view page button. We click that. We can go to the live version. That's there on the internet, neil.convertri.com/demo/thank you. Like that's there and available right now. Now we're going to go back to the opt-in page, and David's asked how did I draw that arrow between them. I'll just get rid of that so you can see it again. And in fact, I'll just space these out a bit so you can. It's going to be a bit more obvious. So on the page card here, you can see there is this arrow button, and if I click that, I get the arrow like extend from the card. Then I just select the page I want it to connect to, and the arrow goes there. And you're not limited to one page. You can have it connect to multiple. So if you've got like a more complicated funnel, then you can draw those out in Convertery just as easily. And what this arrow does, if we go back into the opt-in and set up our form, you'll see how that connects things. So we're going to connect this form, and we're going to click our Forms button. And we're going to use an API integration with Autoresponder. I'm going to use MailChimp for this because that's the one I've got set up on this account, but the process for any of these autoresponders is like very much the same. So we'll click on MailChimp and search for the list. This is just like our standard demo list that we use here. And you can see we have these fields to set. And this is basically what we're going to do is we are going to set fields in the autoresponder here, like with a type. In a minute, we are going to set the inputs on the page. They are also going to be given a type. And Convertery is basically going to do a matching exercise. So here we've got the first name field and we've set that to first name type. Convertery is going to look for whatever input also has the first name type and stick like whatever data is entered there in the first name field here. Some of these fields have fixed types. That is set by the autoresponder itself. So MailChimp sets the email one automatically. You can't change that. Some of the other autoresponders set more of them automatically. Some give you a bit more flexibility like MailChimp does. So that's fine. We'll hit next. Now we are setting our thank you page. And because we've drawn that arrow, because we've only got like one page connected with an arrow, Convertery has automatically added that URL. If we had multiple pages connected with arrows, all of these would be listed in this suggestions box. So you'll be able to pick the one you want. Like any of your published pages can be easily added here. And we'll hit done. Now we'll just check the types for the inputs, and we'll do that in the form field settings. So this one has been assigned the type of first name, so that's going to go into the first name field in the autoresponder. This one has been already assigned the type of email. And you can see if I go down, you can see which of these field types have been assigned in the autoresponder because they're bold. So you know when you're picking the right one. This field is also set to be required. So at the moment, they could, if they want, just enter the email and download. We're not automatically like forcing them to collect the first name. If we wanted the first name to be required as well, we could do that. And we've also set it to validate that it's an actual email address. So this will look to make sure it's got like a dot something at the end and it's got an @ in the middle. So we'll just save that and we'll publish this page. And we'll put you at demo/opt-in. And again, view page, and it's there and live. And that is the entire funnel built now. Someone can come to this page, enter their details, hit download now. They'll be redirected to the thank you page and be able to download the report we promised. So that is part one of this little demonstration complete. Before I go into the edit hacks section, is there anything like about that build that anyone would like to know? Is there anything that, like, any questions that have come up? Again, obviously, all the stuff about like the adding the video and the split testing and so on, we'll show those like after the edit hacks section is done. Nora's asking about the integration button. So if we just go back into the page here. So you can access the, like, you can set up the integration by clicking the Forms button in the top bar here. And that will let you choose what kind of like integration you want to connect to your form. We're using the Autoresponder in this one. And there's a list of API integrations that we've got. So there's quite a collection there. You can also, if you like, you can also add one of the webinar API integrations, or there is Zapier. And you can even, if you want, like have like our email integration, which is basically just emailing the data. Like, it doesn't send the data to an autoresponder or similar. It just emails the information to your own email address, which is set to your account email. So there's a range of options you can use there. Hamant's asking about a two-step opt-in. That is something you can set up in Convertery. It's a little bit of an advanced topic, but we have a guide on how to do that. Again, I'll just find this for you in the knowledge base. So there we are, full walkthrough how to set up a two-step opt-in. So what I'm going to do, rather than walk you through the whole thing here, I'm going to take this link. I'm going to stick that in the chat box for you, so that should go out to everyone. So if you want to see how to set up a two-step opt-in in Convertery, you can click that link, go to this knowledge base article. There's a full video walkthrough on how to do it, and there's also a download guide which you can run through that will walk you through all the different steps. Tony's asking if you can use the email for the contact form and the autoresponder for a funnel. Yes, you definitely can. You can't do both on the same page, but you can definitely do both on the same site. Which again, in fact, is what we do. If we go to, I think it's on our About Us page. So yeah, this form here, which we've got on the contact page, this is set up basically just like I showed you, but with an email integration rather than with an autoresponder. So if you enter like your name, your email address, and the message, that just gets sent like straight to our support desk. And that is done the exact same way, which is by using this email option. Okay, let's have a look at some editor hacks. So for this, I've got a page here. Now this is just one of our templates from the collection. So this one is themed around like a coffee shop, like a cafe. And a few like tips that I find quite useful, like when moving or when adjusting templates when building my own pages. So first of these is like moving entire sections at once. So if we have a look at this menu section, let's say we don't want this anymore. We could, if we want, we could delete each element individually. I'm just going to hit the backspace key there and get rid of it. There's also the delete button in the toolbar. You can use those. But obviously, like doing that element by element, that can get quite tiresome. But if you select the backing panel, so in this case, this black container element for all of them, delete that, it also gets rid of everything inside it. So you can clear off like large sections of the page in that way, should you want to. This will also leave like some amount of white space on the site. And in fact, what I'm going to do is another quite useful thing. If we go to display, I'm going to switch on element outlines. This helps you see how the page is built. And it also makes it a lot easier to see like precisely where that white space is, like when it's set up like this. Now, again, we can move, like if we want to close this space up, we can move sections or elements individually. But again, that's quite a lot of faff. A useful feature here is what we call shift drag. And that is when you hold down the shift key and drag an element, you don't only move the element and whatever it contains, you also move everything that's below it. So here, I'm holding down the shift key, and if I move it down, then you can see that everything below it is moving with it. If I move it up, everything below it is also coming with it. So that lets you move large amounts of elements at once. And in this case, we can like close up that space on the page pretty quickly. We can also, if that space is particularly big, like maybe it was a huge section we got rid of, like we don't really want to like shift drag the whole way up. If we select this container panel, we can use the remove white space feature. Click that, and it just pushes it the whole way up, like until it hits the next element. So you can close up spaces very quickly when you do that. Tony's asking, how did I choose all the elements at once? I didn't actually select all the elements at once in this case. All I did was select the select the container panel at the back. What you might be looking at is these pink lines around all the elements here. That's the element outlines feature. So yeah, if we go to display, and like if element outlines is on at the moment, if we switch it off, like these vanish. And this is like, these don't show up like on your page itself, obviously. This is just showing you how your page is built. So you can see here, for instance, we can tell there's no container around like the bread and the text. Like if we had that, maybe this was spaced open a bit. If we have element outlines off, like we can't see where these backing sections like end unless we've got them selected. But if we've got element outlines on, it just becomes a lot easier to see how the page is built, which is frequently quite useful. So another quite useful feature is the align elements feature, which I covered a bit in that earlier demo when we were laying out the form elements. But you can do like rather more with it to get things done quite quickly. So if let's say we had a few more of these. So I'm just going to clone these elements. And again, you can clone either through the button on the top, or if you hold down the Alt key when you've got an element selected, hold down the Alt key and drag that, you will get a clone, which is a nice quick way of doing it. So let's say we had these 6 headshots and we wanted to space them out evenly across the page. What we would do first is we set up a backing panel, like as a container, like for the area we want them spaced through. We'll just send that backward. And I'll just put these, again, I'm just going to throw these any old where. On top, we're just making sure they're all contained by that panel. And I'm going to make this transparent so you can see the effect a bit better. Now, we could try and space these all out by eye, but again, that's going to be quite awkward, I think. So a better way of doing it is selecting that backing panel. We'll go to the alignment options again. We'll hit middle align to align everything to the middle of that element. And then we'll use horizontally contained to space everything nice and evenly. And if I just switch off the element outlines, you can see more how it would look on the publish page. And it's just really nice and easy to lay out like sections like that. And you can do the exact same thing like with things like these testimonial boxes, like if you're trying to space them out evenly. So we'll just get rid of those again. But the final thing I want to talk about in terms of editor hacks, and is probably the biggest and most important of the lot, and that is building your page in such a way that mobile basically just works out of the box. Because you can see here, this page is not a particularly well constructed page, and we can see that if we go to the mobile view. Like this is Convertry's like automatic version based on the page as it's currently built. And this isn't really the kind of thing that we're after. Like you can see there's like areas here where we've got the 3 headings and then the 3 bits of text. Like we clearly want the text to match with the heading. We have the headshots for the testimonials are separated from the testimonials themselves. These social icons, I mean, to be honest, the social icons are all right, but I would certainly prefer them if they were in a line, like a horizontal line, like they're on the desktop site. And we could, if we wanted, we could do all this like manually just by moving the elements around. But that's hassle we shouldn't have to do. And we can make Convertri do it automatically, basically by letting it know how we want the mobile page built. And we do that through containment. So first thing to understand with this is basically how Convertri constructs the mobile page to begin with. So what Convertri is doing is you can imagine it running like a tracer line along the page, and as it hits an element, it adds that element to the mobile page. So here, it runs that tracer line along, like left to right, top to bottom, and the first element it hits is this one here with the logo text. And so that is the first element it adds to the page. It moves along, next element it hits is we are open. So that's the second one. Next element is the image, and that's the third one. And up to that point, that's fine. But then we get to this section here. And as that trace line runs along, it hits bread, then it hits pastry, then it hits coffee, and then it moves down and it hits this text, then this text, then this text. And so that's the order it adds them to the page, and that's clearly not what we want. So we need a way of telling Convertri that it should add these together and then add these ones, and so on. And we do this by putting these in their own little container. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a panel to the screen. Just going to move that so that's like there, and we'll send that to the back and just move it forward so we can see it. So now we can see that the bread and the text is contained in this box. And we're going to do the same with the pastry and the coffee text. Now I'm leaving the backgrounds on here just so it's easier to see what's going on. You don't have to have like opaque backgrounds for this to work. It will work just as well if they're transparent. So like you won't actually be able to see them on the publish page itself. And in fact, I just make these slightly different colors just so it's a bit easier to tell what's going on. You know, actually we'll make that one transparent so just to prove the point. And I'm going to align them nicely because it hurts my head to not see them that way. There. So now we have our elements in their containers. And what Convertery is going to do now when it runs that mobile tracer, first element it's going to hit is the container. And when it hits the container, it's going to then mobilize everything inside it before moving on to the next one. So it's going to hit this, do everything inside the container, then move on to the next one, do everything in there, move on to the final one and do everything in there. And that means when we go to the mobile view, they are automatically laid out as we want them. Tony's asking if grouping the elements would do the same. Currently it won't. Grouping is currently just a way of like keeping elements like together when you move them. We do have it on the feature list to make grouping like affect elements in mobile this way, but currently they do not. So we can do the exact same thing with these testimonials. So we'll move these. Extend these backing boxes just so they contain the headshots that go with the testimonials. And we go into mobile and they've been kept together. And the final thing we're going to look at is these social icons. And this is the exact same principle, but there's a little bit different. We're going to add a panel to the to contain all these elements. So again, we're going to send that to the back, bring it forward, and we'll just align all those nicely. Now, if your container is less than 300 pixels wide, which we can check in the positioning box, so this is currently 202. When it is less than 300 pixels wide, basically Convertri knows that if the box is that small, it doesn't need to rearrange like any of the stuff inside it, like for it to fit on mobile. So it won't do it. It will just present it exactly as it's there on desktop. So if we go to the mobile view here, you can see this the container box is 200 wide here. So that's well under the margin. and they've been presented in a horizontal line, like Convertry's not tried to rearrange them at all. And we can do the same thing like if we push those into that corner and we push these into this corner. You know, Convertry isn't going to touch this box at all. It just presents it exactly as it was on the desktop view. However, if we make this box wider than 300, if we pull it out so it's like 415 wide, now Convertry knows it's going to have to shrink this container box to fit it on mobile, and that means it's going to remobilize all the elements inside it as well. So when it's wide, we go into the mobile view, and it will remobilize them by adding them vertically like it did before. So below 300, doesn't change. Over 300, gets remobilized. So this is something you can use if you've got like sections like this where you don't want them changed on mobile at all. Like, so you can have whatever like little design in the section on desktop you want, and know it will just be presented exactly the same in the mobile view. Okay, so that is those are all of the little edit hacks that I wanted to show you. I hope there's something there you'll find useful. James is asking, is this being recorded? Yep, we are recording the call at the moment. It'll go up in the knowledge base along with all the others, which again you can find at. Do I still have that open? Looks like I don't. I'm an idiot. I closed it. Which you'll find at help.convertri.com in Getting Started Webinars. There's the list of all the ones we've run in the past, and this one will be in there as well, probably early next week. And obviously, like, it's the same presentation every time. It's only the Q&A section itself that's different. So you can view, like, you can watch any one of these you want and get the funnel setup demo, get the editor hacks. Craig's asking, is there a tutorial for a multi-step opt-in, say like for four-step opt-in? There's not a specific tutorial for it, but the process is exactly the same as with the two-step opt-in. There's just like more, basically you're just doing more steps in the middle before you give them the submit button. So it'll work the exact same way. Okay, so we had a few questions from earlier on demonstrations that people wanted to see. So first was Tim, I think, and yes, so you've added your questions again. Excellent. That will save me going up to look for them. So how do you set an action for the user to scroll back up to the top? So we've actually got on this page, like there's a little button there that's designed to have that kind of thing set up, which is quite convenient. So we do this using an internal link. So we will set the top of the page, like let's say we'll have them scroll up to this like logo element here. What we do first of all is we give this element a name, and that means like it means Convertri will have something to hook into. So we'll call that like logo top. Oh, I actually had one set up already. Look at that. But it won't hurt for me to show you how to do it. So now we have on this button here, like any element with a name will be in this list. So you pick the elements that you want. And if we publish this page, now if we scroll to the bottom, so you have our go to the top button, we click that, and we scroll up to the element we named. So that is how you set up like a go to top link. And the other one was about the expiration timer. So you're saying the expiration timer isn't showing up on your page. Now I suspect that is because you've got it set to evergreen. Now the way you add a countdown timer is we have an element here for that. So we'll stick this, we'll just stick this over here for now. Actually, no, let's stick it at the bottom. So we have several modes for countdown timer. You can have a fixed timer, which is going to a specific date. So if we set that to be in about a week, then you see that it's counting down specifically to that point. You can also set it to be evergreen. So if it's like a 3-day timer, then anyone who comes to your page will have 3 days before the timer runs out. And Convertri will remember who they are. So if they come back, it won't restart at 3 days again. It'll restart at the point like it would be. And on expiry, there are 3 different things you can do. You can just show the timer, so it will just sit there at 0. You can hide the timer, so it'll vanish from your page. Or you can set up a redirect. So if the timer has hit 0, then someone will be redirected to a different page. Now, Tim, what I suspect is happening on your page is that the timer itself has expired, fully. Possibly it was set to a fixed point, which is now in the past. Or possibly you set it to an evergreen amount and you had a look at the page, but now Convertri's detected that as you. So it's just it's not restarting the timer for you. It's just treating you as if you were a visitor coming. And if you have it set to hide timer, then once that timer is expired, then you just won't see it anymore. New people coming to your page will, because it won't have expired for them. But Convertri will see you as another visitor. If you have a look at your page in an incognito browser, so Convertri won't be able to detect who you are, you'll probably see the timer again. Craig's asking, is there a built-in shopping cart so we don't need a separate merchant account? These are really 2 different things. So, sorry, just give me a sec, have a swig of water. So we do have a built-in shopping cart. I'll just leave that. So in the cart section, you can set up products, you can process payments through Convertri. You will still need to connect either Stripe or PayPal, as a way of taking payments. So you'll still need a merchant account in that sense. But there is a shopping cart that people can purchase items through. That comes with Convertri. So you can set up payment forms, you can have them buy products that way. Yes, Deepak was asking about how you move elements to the top quickly without dragging it all the way up. So again, let's go back to the campaign. So again, what I'm imagining has happened here, because I mean, Deepak said like you added a video, and that appeared like at the bottom of your mobile page. And what I imagine is going on with this is if you have like rearranged any of the elements on your mobile page, like let's say we do want let's just shift that form to the top again. So let's say the form is up here and the text is down here. So this isn't like the automatic Convertri version anymore. This is something that we have adjusted. Now Convertri can tell that we've adjusted the page. You know, it's got to, like, it knows that we have made some changes. But that means if we add new elements to this page, like say a video, and to add a video, I think this was another question. If you go to the media option, then there's a range of different video players. So the video one is our main one, like that's our main like Convertri video player. You've also got a background video element and three like native integrations for other video hosting, so like Vimeo, Wistia, and YouTube. So the most common ones, and you can just add those to your page like any other element. But now let's say we've added our video to the page. Convertri doesn't know where we want this on mobile anymore because we've made that adjustment. Like it can't rework the mobile page without undoing what we've already done, and that usually feels like a bad idea. Like it can't rework the mobile page without undoing our changes. And so it just puts the video at the bottom of the page, or the new element at the bottom of the page. If we want it to be at the top, then the easiest way to do this is if we go into the positioning panel, again with the element selected. So at the moment, you can see the Y position is 904, so like it's 904 pixels down the page. If we change that to say 10, it will jump up to just 10 pixels down, so about at the top. And we can then adjust that to move it like a bit more like where we want. So maybe we want it in the middle like that. And we can also remobilize the page. So tell Convertri to just rerun the mobile algorithm. And in that case, Convertri will position the video in this case based on where we've put it in the desktop page. So you can see it here. Again, like I was saying before, it's running that tracer line. The first thing it hits is the video. So that's the first thing it adds. And then it adds our form after that. But it's undone our changes, moving the form above the text. So which of these methods is best really depends like on what else you've done to the page. Sometimes it will be fast to just hit remobilize. Sometimes you want to like adjust the positioning figure and then shift things around manually. Tony is asking, how did we add the top text on the element? And that is just a text box. Like that is just a black panel with a text box on top. There's nothing more complicated to it than that. You can, if you want, like you can use a button instead. Like if you don't want to faff around like adjusting like too many elements, we can just stick a button on there. We'll call that call that top, maybe do something like that. But yeah, the original element there was just a text box on top of a panel. Okay, Tim, if that's not the issue with your countdown timer, then if you email the page into support, they'll be able to sort it out for you. Obviously, we'll probably have to have a look at the page, like in your account, like in the editor, to see how you've got it set up. But they should be able to fix it for you. And yes, Craig was asking about split testing. So to set up a split test, you go to the three-dot button or the three-dot menu in the page card, and we'll hit Start a Split Test. And this will create two variants of the page. So if we say edit the second variant, let's say we want to see if that works better if the headline is red. So we'll save that and we'll publish. And when we publish, this will publish the entire split test. So, yep, that's fine. And now what happens when someone goes like to the URL of your page, they will be automatically redirected to one of the random variants. So let's see what one we get. We got the red one. And you can see there's now the split test code like at the end of the URL. And this will be remembered. So if I come back to this page, like not in an incognito browser, I will always see this variant with the red headline. So I'm not going to get like two different versions of the page. Someone else coming to this page, they could get either the black or the red version, depending. Let's say it's a 50-50 chance. And then you can see the stats for each version of the page. And when you're confident that you've got a winner, you can select stop the split test, like on whatever variant you want the winner to be. Hit OK, and you'll get everyone will after that point be directed to the winner. Let's see if there were any questions I've missed. Peter's asking, does Control-Z work as it usually does, so like an undo? Yes, it definitely does. So again, we can just have a quick look at that. So let's move that's over there. Now we have an undo feature as well. Like you can use the button up there, like to undo elements, but we can Control-Z, and that works. That works just the same. I'm not sure the precise number of steps it works for because it depends how many Convertery has stored in the buffer, but it's a lot. I think you can get through like 100 or so before it starts complaining. Marcel's asking, what does the blue vertical lines indicate, and will it be dangerous to have things like text outside them? The blue lines here, these are just guidelines. Like they don't affect your published page at all. These are basically set as like a standard width, like for you to help you design your page within. These by default they're set to 960, so 960 pixels. This is quite narrow these days. When we first released Convertery, that was like a good. Basically, that was a good bound for like if you design within this limit, like you'll get like like 98% of people will have a screen that wide. These days, screens tend to be a lot wider, so you can go like anywhere up to 1280, and like pretty much everyone is going to get all your content. You can change these guidelines. If you want to say, let's say at the moment they're set to 960 by default. You can set them to 1280, make it wider, but they're really only for your reference. Like to keep within, like if you want a site that's 1280 wide, you can just set these to 1280 and make sure everything is within these bounds. But there's no harm in having things outside. Like we can stick, if we stick this box like half outside and publish that, then like it's still there. Like everything still gets published. Nora asked, how do you manage like a large text on a picture background, like for a big post heading? Easiest way to do something like that. In fact, yeah, I'll just adapt this. Adapt this page is probably easiest. So let's shrink this down a bit. We'll have a headline. So we'll stick a text box on top of this. And we'll make this white so we can actually see it. Whoops. It's bigger, let's say 36 bold, something like that. So you can just build it this way. What I would suggest is also putting like an overlay on the image at the back. So that, I mean, we'll take a panel. And again, we'll just fit it to the top and bottom of the image and full width. Then we'll send that backward. So basically we want it between the image and the text. Now we're going to change that to black, and we're going to take the opacity down to like 40%, something like that. And basically this means it just makes the it makes the text itself a lot, like it stands out a lot easier. Like without that overlay, it's harder to read bits of the text, like the M over her light colored hoodie. Whereas if you've got that overlay, it just makes the text an awful lot easier to read. So that is how I would build something like that. Annette, if you're having issues setting up, like wherever you came to Convertri from, if you contact support@convertri.com, again, I'll stick that address in the chat so everyone can see it. That's our support email address. Like if you email your issue into there, then someone will be able to help you out. Jennifer's asking, is it possible to split tests with 3 pages? Currently, no. Currently, it is limited to 2. That's a feature we might add in the future, depending on how much demand there is for it. Tony's asking, can you go over how you can make a menu that can be used in any page? And if you change or add something to the menu, it'll propagate to all pages. Is that possible? It is possible. It takes a couple of steps to set up, but we can get there. So we're going to use two different features for this. We are going to use our menu element, and we're going to use shared headers and footers. So first of all, we're going to want the shared header and footer. Now, if we go to the page menu, then you'll see there's an option up here called headers and footers, and we're going to switch on our shared header. Now this header will be shared between all pages of the funnel. And in fact, you can see that's in there because like I've made one for this funnel before, probably on one of these demos. So we'll edit that and we'll just get rid of the sparrow. And we are going to add a menu element into this shared header. So let's add a couple of items in here. So we have home, about, and contact. So as examples, get rid of that fourth one. We don't need that. Now we can add more items if we want. Like let's say it comes with 4 spaces by default. You just saw me get rid of 1. If you add create, you can add more. Any of these items can be set either to be a link. It can be set to be an internal link, so linking to somewhere on the page rather than like an external page, or we can add a submenu, and we can add items on here. And there's also all the usual formatting options, like for what the text looks like. So we can set that to Lato to look like the funnel, or we can just pick one of the prearranged skins that we've got. So something like that. So, and let's move that. Just make that a bit smaller. Okay, so we'll save that. So we now have this header constructed on this page. And if we move to another page of the funnel, so let's move to the opt-in page. We can add the header. And the header we built, like on that last page, is now available here as well. And so if you add your menu element into that header, then whenever you update, like if you update the contact link to a new page, if you added like another item in the menu, then that would propagate across all the different pages in the funnel that are using the header. All you'd have to do is republish them, and that would be live. Craig's asking, can you show again how to connect a separate URL to a page, like the URL for a website? Yep, definitely can. So we did that before with the privacy policy down there. The most common way of doing this is adding a link in a text box. So you can just add your text, highlight that, and use the hyperlink button in the quick actions menu. And we can put any website we want in there. We can choose whether we want it to open in a new tab, or again, we can set it to be an internal link if we want. And that will add a link to a link for that text. You can also, if you want, add links with elements. So if we just have that panel on the page, if we want someone to click on that panel and then get redirected somewhere, if we go to element properties, and then in general properties, there is a link field. And we can add something else in there. Again, we'll stick to Google. And that's got all the same options, like you can open it in a new tab or not. And when that link is set, if we just publish that page, then you can see our shared header there now. And now if someone clicks on that panel or that link, they'll get redirected to Google. Peter's asking, if you forget to save, is everything lost, or is there some autosave function? There is autosave. I think it does every 10 minutes. Not entirely sure, but I think that's true. So you get restore points for your page. So if we go to the More menu and go to Restore, and you can see, yeah, there's 3 restore points set for this page. Like while I've been working on it, Convertery saved it like every 10 minutes. So if we clicked on one of these, that would restore the page to how it looked like at that point. So like you'll be prompted if you try to leave without saving it. But if you don't do that for whatever reason, like I don't know, maybe the tab just gets closed, or maybe there's a browser crash, something like that, you can come back and use a restore point, and that will get back. Like, let's say you could lose up to about 10 minutes of work, but no more than that. Vida's asking, what does the exclamation mark at the mobile view button tell us? That is basically saying that something in the mobile view has changed. So like if we've added an element to a page, or if we've adjusted the desktop page in a way that has changed the mobile view, like without us going to the mobile view to look at it, then Convertri will put that basically as a warning to let us know that we should have a look at it and make sure it's still looking okay. Tony is asking, what is a frame menu? I don't know. Actually, apparently someone was talking about that in the Convertri Facebook group. I'm afraid I don't know what they were referring to there. Nora's saying, for Facebook marketing purposes, if I don't want my website name to show up in the link I share, as my subdomain with the Convertri page contains it, is there an option to use a different name for that particular page? You can set whatever name for any page that you want. Like I showed you how to rename the page itself before. You can also set the page title. If you go to the page menu, in the meta info, you can set a page title, which can again be anything you want, along with the page description. And this is usually what advertisers like Facebook will pull through for their auto-generated text. For the URL itself, if that's what you mean, then you can set. I think you can tell Facebook, like when you're setting up the ad, to like only use like a portion of the domain. You won't be able to have like www.nora.com in the Facebook ad and then have it go to nora.convertri.com, because ad platforms just don't like that very much. That's the kind of thing people tend to do when they're trying to scam people. Even though, I mean, there are times entirely legitimate reasons for doing it, but it's a tactic often used by people who are trying to do something a bit dodgy, so they're just like, no, don't do that. So the URL itself, like try and keep it to the same domain that your page is published on. Craig's saying, I'm starting to think of this software as a replacement for a WordPress website. You could just use a landing page as your website, and it's basically the same except hosted in Convertri. That's true to an extent. It's absolutely possible to build websites in Convertri, and in fact, like we did, our own, like this page, like our site here, like all of this is entirely built in Convertri. Like you can see there, we've got the Powered by Convertri badge. This is actually, just as I was showing you earlier, this is the menu element. This here is set up in a shared header. So a lot of what I've shown you is actually how like we built our own website here. So you definitely can like build websites entirely in Convertri. A lot of people do. It wasn't what we were originally designed for, but a lot of people like using us for that kind of thing. The thing you will find awkward in Convertery that you will find a lot easier on WordPress is stuff like blogging. We're not really set up for having a blog where you're publishing articles and maybe you want to update recently published articles on a range of blog posts, or have related links, that kind of thing there that update on a lot of pages at once. That's you can do it on Convertri if you want, but it is an awful lot easier to do on WordPress. What we tend to suggest for people who want to do this kind of thing is they can have their landing page or their full website if they want. They can have that on Convertri, and then set up WordPress on a subdomain of that website. So, which is again, in fact, how we've got it. You can go to blog.convertry.com. We don't use the blog for anything much anymore, but it's still here. And this is set up, let's say blog.convertry.com. This is set up on WordPress. And that is just connected to our site in that way. Tony's asking, can you do a CName for a subdomain in Convertri for a domain pointing to the Convertri name servers? Yes, I think so. Actually, someone asked me about setting up a domain, didn't they? I'm very sorry, I forget who it was, but I do remember we had that question. So to set up a custom domain in Convertri, if we go to Account and we go to Domains, then you can add new subdomains. If you add Convertri to your domain, that is the Cname option. If you've got this is for if you've got say if you've got a WordPress blog on www.mysite.com and you want your landing pages on, I don't know, sales.mysite.com, and you want to use Convertri for them, that's what you use this one for. So that's the Cname option. If you want an entirely new custom domain, so if you actually want to set up mysite.com or www.mysite.com on Convertri, then we suggest using the use Convertri with a new domain option, which is the name servers. So again, there are guides walking you through how to do all of these things. I'll just dig those out of the knowledge base for you. That will be here. So yes, we've got one on setting up a new custom domain. So this is how you use the name servers. And publishing Convertri pages on a subdomain of your own site. This is the Cname version. And if you want to set up a subdomain of a custom domain that you've already got on Convertri, so you've got, say, www.mysite.com on Convertri, and you want tony.mysite.com set up as well. For that, you can just use the add a new subdomain feature. So on this account, I've only got convertri.com subdomains, so that's the only option I've got here. But if you have a custom domain set up, then you'll find that in the list here as well. So you can just select your custom domain, add in whatever you want here, and that will automatically create that subdomain for you. Craig's saying, so that brings up the question of how do we use a domain that you've already got in, say, Namecheap or Google Domains in Convertri? That is what you'd use the name servers for. So if you've got a domain registered in Namecheap, then you can use our name server guide, which is the setting up a new custom domain one I just added into the chat, and that will walk you through the different steps. I think that guide is done using GoDaddy, but the process is just the same. The options will just look a bit different depending on what registrar you've used. Okay, are there any questions I've missed? Or is there anything else that anyone would like to know? My voice is flagging a little bit, but I do have half a pint of water left, so I should be good for a little while yet. Vida's asking, is it possible to use a video as a background? Again, yep, definitely is. Again, if we have a look at our own Convertery site, then you'll see we have one here. It's very nice. I think that was Andy's hands you just saw there. And again, to do that, let's go into one of these again. So to do that, I would use the background video element. So we go to media, background video, and we can just add again, we can expand that size to whatever we want, just like we did with the image. And you don't even have to have it full width if you want. Like, because it's a background video, we do that by default, but like if you would rather have it just play in a little box like that, that's absolutely fine. Now you'll need a self-hosted video for this. We usually use S3, and you stick the link of your video file into the video source button there. Make sure mute is switched on, and that will basically just work. The video will play on the site. What I would suggest we do, or what I would suggest you do, again, just like we've done here, is add that like semi-transparent black overlay. Again, just like I did with the when we were making that like post header, because that will make it any text you've got on top, like we've got our like faster funnels, high conversions, like headline there, that just makes it show up a lot easier. That's great, Annette. I'm glad you found it useful. Craig's asking about how you connect ad campaigns you're running through Facebook or Google. This will generally be done in the ad platform itself. Basically, you'll have, like, once you've published your page on Convertery, like you'll have a URL for it, like we've got our like /demo/opt-in here. You would basically, you'll give the platform that you're using. So if you're using Facebook, Google, or similar, when you're setting up the ad, you just give them that URL, like tell them that you want like the ad to go there, and that is how like you'll connect the ad to the page. So that will all happen at their end rather than ours. But it's a pretty easy process. Okay, do we have any other questions? Vid's asking, can you connect the landing page with a Facebook pixel? Yeah, you can add, basically you can add any scripts or tracking codes you want to your page. You can do this at a range of different levels for the page itself. So if you only want it on that specific page, then if you go to the page menu up there and then custom scripts, click add page script, then enter in, like, you can add a description if you want. That's really just like for your own benefits. Like if you've given it a less descriptive name, it'll help you remind you what it's for. You can set the position in the body or the head and then just add your code in that box there. Hit save and publish, and that will put your Facebook pixel code or any other tracking code on that page. You can also do this at wider levels. So if we leave this, then we can see there is a script section in the funnel, and that works exactly the same. But any scripts you add here will be automatically added to any pages within the funnel. You can also do that like at a domain level or at a whole account level if you want. So for instance, on our own Convertery account that we've got our main site on, we've got like our tracking pixels and like analytics code, that kind of thing. That is all set at the account level. So it doesn't matter what page we publish, all that is just automatically on there. One quite good trick for this, like if you don't already, is to use Google Tag Manager. Because then you can set up all your scripts in Google Tag Manager and then just add the Tag Manager code into Convertery. And what that will mean is if you change it at some point, you can just update Tag Manager and that will just filter through to everything automatically, rather than needing to like republish pages individually. Fortunate, yes, we will be. We are recording this. The replay will be up in the knowledge base, which I'll just add that link in the chat again. So there's a getting started webinars section in the knowledge base that's got all the ones like from past showings, and this one will be in there as well, probably early next week. So you'll be able to see anything you missed there. Okay, I think we've reached the end of the list. I'll hang around for another couple of minutes just in case anyone's got any like last minute questions come in. Tony's asking, can I point my subdomain name to another page by creating a Cname record and setting the value to the service that I want to use? Yes, I believe you can. There's a guide for, basically we've got a guide for setting up a WordPress blog on a subdomain of a Convertery site. So doing much as I like described before with like blog.convertery.com, but doing a similar thing for your own site. That is, let's find that in here. Oh, there we are, setting up a blog on a Convertery site. So again, there's a guide and a video showing you how to do that. And I believe that will work. There we are. And I believe that will work fine for any service. So whether you want to, that's specifically for a WordPress blog, but you could do the same thing, I think, for a Shopify store or anything like that. I don't think it makes a difference. I reserve the right to be wrong about that, but I'm pretty certain that's true. Vida's asking, is it possible to connect the Instagram account to a page? We don't have a specific element for that, but there's a couple of ways you can do it. I mean, you can just link out to your Instagram profile the same way you link out to anything else, like with a text link like this. Alternatively, like I know they provide like widgets, like to show your latest posts and that kind of thing. If you have the code for that, then you can add it in a custom HTML element. So if we go to the elements bar here, you'll see there's an HTML element option. And that will basically let you add like a lump of code that someone gives you like that to your page. So if you hit edit HTML, like enter the code they give you in there, and then that will add that widget into that little box. So if you've got a widget that will do that kind of thing, showing your latest posts or similar, you can get it on your page in that way. Oh, thanks, Vida. I'm glad you found it useful. So, I mean, anything like this, like there's always a bit of a learning curve when you're getting started, which is like it's why we run these like every couple of weeks. Like we want to make sure people are like getting going like as easily as possible. And we try to give you as much information as we can in knowledge base and similar. But sometimes there's just not really a substitute for just seeing it happen and just having someone to ask questions to. So yes, Tony, if you've got a scheduler, you should be able to add that into the HTML code as well. I think a lot of people use that for embeds of things like Calendly and similar, when they want to add like an appointment system to a page. Okay, I think we are about at the end now. So yeah, thank you very much everyone for coming out, and thank you for sticking with me for a couple of hours. Again, I hope you found this useful. I hope you'll find Convertery a bit easier like after all this. And yeah, and I hope it just makes you feel a bit more confident with it. Obviously, if you have any other questions, you are free to you can email support@convertery.com again, which I stuck the link in the chat. If you are not a member of the Facebook group already, I encourage you very much to get in there. That is the Convertery Clubhouse on Facebook, and again, you can find a link in the help of the editor. If you click that, you can go there, and if you're not a member already, you can apply to get in. If you're using Convertery, there won't be a problem with you getting in. Basically, we have people in there normally every morning, so at most you'll be waiting a couple of hours. But it's a really good community. There's something like 5,000 or 6,000 people in there now, and there's they're all Convertery users. They're all very happy to help with questions. And so yeah, so I think that's it. Like I say, we'll be doing another one of these in a couple of weeks. So if you want a refresher, if you want to come to another Q&A session, I imagine Dan will be doing that one again. But he knows a whole huge amount about Convertery. He's probably far better at this than I am. So you'll be able to get as many answers from him as you want. The registration emails for that will go out the beginning of the week that we're running it in. So that'll be, I think, the last week of January. As I said, they happen every 2 weeks. So about 2 weeks after now. And we're not, yeah, there's no way that's going to be the last week of January, is it? Like, we're still in like the 7th. I don't know how this year has felt so long already. Jesus. So yeah, so if you, let's say, if you do have any questions, like, please do either email support, ask in the Facebook group. I'm in there a lot, Dan's in there a lot, Honor's in there a lot. Like you've got access to our whole support team there, or of course, like, send it to the support email. And if you have any, suggestions for like other demos you'd like to see, please do add them in there as well. We're always looking to like help you out with this stuff as much as you can. Again, thank you very much for turning up, and I will hopefully see you next time.